The numbers glared at me from my phone screen like an accusation. 0. Our joint emergency savings account, the one I'd been faithfully building for 3 years, was completely empty. My hands trembled as I refreshed the banking app again, praying it was just a glitch. My name is Natasha, and until this moment, I thought I was living the American dream. Small-town Texas girl makes it big in New York City, complete with the fancy apartment, successful husband, and thriving career in international humanitarian law. Funny how quickly dreams can turn to dust. Everything okay, honey? Alex's voice floated from our designer kitchen. I could hear him opening his morning kombucha, probably wearing that smug smile he always had before heading to his investment firm. Just checking our accounts, I said, keeping my voice steady. Did you move our emergency fund somewhere? The pause that followed was a fraction too long. Oh, that? Yeah, I had to use it for a temporary business opportunity. Don't worry, it'll be back with interest in a few weeks. The wooden spoon I was holding snapped in half. I stared at the broken pieces, thinking about my daddy's words the day I left Texas. City folk have different values, Butterfly. Don't let them change yours. A business opportunity, I repeated, my accent thickening like it always did when I was angry. Our entire emergency fund? Alex appeared in the doorway, adjusting his Italian silk tie. Come on, Nat, you know how these things work. High risk, high reward. I couldn't pass it up. You mean like that crypto investment last year? Or the NFT collection that was going to make us millionaires? He waved dismissively. This is different. Trust me. Trust. The word hit me like a slap. I thought about the long nights I'd spent working extra cases to build that fund, while he spent evenings at networking events that always seemed to involve expensive whiskey and designer suits. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister Laura. How's my favorite city slicker? Daddy's asking when you're coming home for a visit. I need to get to work, I said, grabbing my briefcase. We'll talk about this later. Don't make it a big deal, Nat. Alex called after me. You're starting to sound like one of those small-town folk you left behind. I stopped at the door, my hand tightening on the handle. Those small-town folk taught me that a man's word is his bond. Guess that lesson didn't make it past the Holland Tunnel. The spring air hit my face as I stepped onto the street, the familiar cacophony of Manhattan washing over me. My colleague Christine was waiting at our usual coffee spot, her face lighting up when she saw me. You look like you just ate a whole lemon, she said, sliding me my usual order. Spill. I told her about the empty account, watching her expression shift from shock to anger. That's theft, she exclaimed, drawing looks from nearby tables. You need to confront him. Get a lawyer. No. I cut her off, an idea taking shape in my mind. That's not how we handle things where I'm from. What do you mean? I thought about the hidden safe behind the vintage painting in our study, the one Alex didn't know about. The one containing documents that could unravel his carefully constructed world of lies. My daddy always said karma's too slow, I said, stirring my coffee. Sometimes it needs a little push. Christine leaned forward, lowering her voice. Natasha, what are you planning? I smiled, feeling the weight of my wedding ring like a shackle. Let's just say Alex isn't the only one who knows how to play the long game. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Laura. Remember what Mama always said? The best revenge is living well. I typed back, what about the second best revenge? Looking up at the towering skyscrapers, I felt something shift inside me. Alex thought he'd married a simple country girl he could manipulate. He was about to learn that Texas women aren't just pretty faces and sweet tea. We're barbed wire wrapped in silk. First, I told Christine, I need you to help me find a good real estate agent. I think it's time Alex and I downsized. Downsized? She asked, confusion clear on her face. Trust me, I said, the plan crystallizing in my mind. By the time I'm done, Alex will have taught himself the hardest lesson of all. Which is? I stood up, smoothing my skirt. Never underestimate a woman with nothing left to lose and everything to reclaim. Walking to the office, I felt lighter than I had in months. Alex wanted to play games with our future? Fine. But he was about to learn that some country girls know exactly how to play by city rules and win. I spent the next week playing the perfect wife, made Alex's favorite meals, laughed at his jokes, and never once mentioned the empty account. But behind every smile was a plan taking shape, like a storm brewing over Texas plains. "You're scaring me a little," Laura said during our weekly video call. I was in my office, door locked, speaking in hushed tones. "This calm version of you isn't natural. Remember when Tommy Peterson stole your horse in high school? You chased him down Main Street with Daddy's shotgun." "I've learned subtlety since then," I said, adjusting my webcam. "Besides, this isn't about revenge, it's about justice." Laura's eyebrows shot up. "Those sound like the same thing with different makeup on." "You haven't heard the best part," I continued, leaning closer to the screen. "Yesterday, I found receipts in his coat pocket. He's been investing in a gentleman's club downtown. Turns out his business opportunities involve poles and private dances." "That son of a—" "Exactly." I glanced at my office door. "But here's where it gets interesting. Remember that safe I had installed when we renovated? The one behind the ugly painting he loves? That's the one. Alex thinks all our important documents are in his office safe, but I've been quietly moving things, deed to the house, insurance policies, everything that matters, into mine. He has no idea it exists." Laura whistled low. "Girl, you're playing chess while he's playing checkers." "I learned from the best," I said, thinking of our mama's favorite saying, "A woman should always have something saved for a rainy day, and men are notorious stormbringers." A knock at my door made me jump. "Nat?" It was Christine. "Got a minute?" "Call you later," I told Laura, ending the call just as Christine entered. "You won't believe what I just heard," Christine said, closing the door behind her. "Alex's firm is under investigation. Something about irregular trading patterns." My heart skipped. "How do you know?" "My client works for the SEC. Nothing official yet, but there's smoke." She perched on my desk. "Whatever you're planning, you might want to speed it up." I pulled out my phone, showing her the real estate listing I'd been crafting. "Already ahead of you. Our neighborhood's hot right now. Houses are selling within days." "You really think he'll agree to sell?" "Oh, he will." I smiled, remembering the carefully planted complaints I'd been making. Especially after I mentioned how much the property taxes have gone up, and how the maintenance is eating into his investment capital. Christine shook her head. "You're terrifying, you know that?" "I'm motivated," I corrected. "There's a difference." That evening, I put my plan into motion. Alex was in his home office, probably hiding more financial disasters, when I brought him his favorite whiskey. "Rough day?" I asked, noting the tension in his shoulders. "Market's volatile," he muttered, not looking up from his laptop. "Nothing to worry about." I perched on his desk, deliberately knocking over a stack of papers. "Oh, I'm so sorry." As I helped him gather them, I caught glimpses of red numbers and urgent notices. "You know," I said carefully, "I was thinking about what you said regarding investment opportunities." His head snapped up. "The house," I continued. "It's worth almost double what we paid. With the market this hot—" "We can't sell," he said quickly. "This is our home." I shrugged, standing to leave. Just thinking about all that capital, sitting there doing nothing. But you're right. Probably better to keep paying those rising property taxes. Later that night, I heard him on the phone, speaking in hushed tones about margin calls and extension requests. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, fighting the guilt threatening to derail my resolve. My phone lit up with a text from Laura. "Still awake?" I slipped out to the balcony before calling her. The city lights sparkled below, a stark contrast to the star-filled Texas skies I missed. "Having second thoughts?" she asked without preamble. "He's in trouble, Laura. Real trouble. Part of me wants to stop, tell him I know everything." "And what would Mama say about that?" I closed my eyes, hearing Mama's voice clear as day. "A man who betrays your trust will do it again. Only bigger next time." "You're right," I said. but it's hard playing this role. Remember when that rattler got in the chicken coop? Laura asked. Daddy said sometimes you have to be patient. Let the snake show itself before you strike. I looked through the window at Alex, still hunched over his desk, probably digging himself deeper into whatever hole he'd made. The listing goes live tomorrow, I said. No turning back after that. Good girl, Laura replied. And Natasha, remember, you're not just doing this for yourself. You're doing it for every woman who ever trusted the wrong man. After hanging up, I touched the cold railing, letting the night air clear my head. Tomorrow, I'd start the endgame. Alex thought he was facing a financial crisis. He had no idea he was facing a Texas tornado in designer heels. The listing went live on a Tuesday. By Wednesday morning, our realtor had scheduled 12 viewings. I watched Alex pace our living room, phone pressed to his ear, his voice getting higher with each call. What do you mean, margin call? He hissed into the phone. I just need 2 more weeks. No, you don't understand. I pretended to focus on my laptop while he unraveled. The SEC investigation Christine mentioned must have been picking up steam. Perfect timing. Honey, I called out sweetly, the first buyers will be here in an hour. Should we hide the whiskey bottles in your office? He ended his call abruptly. I can't deal with this today, Nat. Can't you handle it? Of course, I said, noting how his hands trembled. But you should know. They're offering cash deals. We might need to move fast. His head snapped up. Cash? How much? Well above asking. I pulled up the offers on my phone. Enough to solve a lot of temporary problems. The desperation in his eyes would have broken my heart 2 months ago. Now it just confirmed I was on the right track. Maybe we should consider it, he said, trying to sound casual. The market might not stay this hot. I hid my smile behind my coffee cup. Whatever you think is best, dear. The doorbell rang. Christine, right on schedule. I'd asked her to drop by during the viewings, playing her part perfectly. Oh my God, this place is gorgeous, she gushed, loud enough for Alex to hear. But isn't it a bit much for 2 people? My cousin just sold her place in this neighborhood for a ridiculous amount. Alex emerged from his office, suddenly interested. Really? When? Last week? Christine said. All cash offer, closed in 10 days. They're buying everything in this area. I watched Alex's expression shift from worried to calculating. The same look he'd had before emptying our savings. The first potential buyers arrived, a wealthy couple who made all the right noises about crown molding and natural light. I led them through each room, carefully avoiding the study with its hidden safe. The study's being painted, I explained smoothly. But it's lovely. Original hardwood floors, built-in bookshelves. Alex followed us like a shadow, jumping in whenever money was mentioned. We've put a lot into this place. Top of the line everything. After they left, he pulled me aside. They seemed serious. Very, I agreed. Their agent mentioned they could close quickly. How quickly? 2 weeks, maybe less. I touched his arm gently. Alex, is everything okay? You seem tense. He shrugged off my hand. Just busy. If they make a good offer, let's take it. The next viewing brought a developer who talked about turning the building into luxury condos. Alex's eyes lit up at their numbers. Between showings, I slipped into the study, checking the safe behind that hideous painting Alex had insisted on keeping. Everything was still there. Documents, emergency cash, and evidence of his business dealings I'd been quietly collecting. My phone buzzed. A text from Laura. How's the trap coming along? The mouse is circling the cheese, I replied. Christine lingered after the last viewing, waiting until Alex disappeared into his office for another tense phone call. You should see him at work, she whispered. He's terrified. Rumor has it the SEC is looking into everyone at his level. Good, I said, but my voice wavered slightly. Christine grabbed my hand. Having doubts? No, I said firmly. Just remembering something Daddy told me about ranch work. Said the hardest part of putting down a rabid animal isn't pulling the trigger. It's looking in its eyes beforehand. This isn't the same thing, Natasha. Alex made his choices. The study door opened and Alex emerged looking pale. Nat, can we talk about the offers? Christine took her cue to leave. Call me later, she mouthed as she left. I followed Alex to the kitchen where he'd already poured himself a large whiskey. I think we should take the developer's offer, he said. They can close next week. So soon? I widened my eyes. But where would we live? We can rent for a while, invest the profits. He drained his glass. The markets, there are opportunities right now. Like the opportunity that ate our savings? The words slipped out before I could stop them. He froze. What's that supposed to mean? I forced a laugh. Nothing, honey. Just nervous about moving, I guess. Later, in bed, I listened to him toss and turn, probably seeing dollar signs and SEC warnings in his dreams. My phone lit up with one last text from Laura. Remember, the meanest snakes always bite themselves first. I turned toward the window, watching city lights flicker like distant stars. By this time next week, Alex would learn exactly how much his betrayal had cost him. And I'd be gone, leaving nothing but an empty safe and a stack of receipts from his business meetings for the SEC to find. Sometimes karma needs a helping hand, and mine was steady as steel. The developer's offer came in at breakfast. Alex nearly choked on his coffee when he saw the number. They're offering 15% over asking, he said, hands shaking as he held his phone. All cash, 7-day close. I buttered my toast with deliberate slowness. That seems awfully fast. Are you sure about this? We'd be idiots not to take it. He was already typing a response. I'll tell them yes. Don't we need to discuss it first? I kept my voice carefully neutral, watching him squirm. Nat, please, trust me on this one. There it was again. Trust. I bit my tongue until I tasted blood. My phone buzzed, Christine calling. Hey, got a minute? It's about work. In my home office, door locked, Christine didn't waste time. The SEC issued subpoenas this morning, Alex's whole department. My heart raced. When? They're being served today. Whatever you're planning, you need to move fast. I glanced at the calendar on my wall. The closing's in 7 days. I'll be gone in 6. Gone where? Better if you don't know. I lowered my voice. But I need one last favor. Later that afternoon, I met our realtor to sign preliminary paperwork. Alex was too busy to attend, which suited me fine. Each signature brought me closer to freedom. Your husband seemed very eager to close quickly, the realtor commented. He's an eager person, I replied, signing another document. Always chasing the next big thing. Back home, I found Alex in the study, frantically shredding papers. He jumped when I entered. Just clearing out old files, he said quickly. For the move. I nodded, noting how close he was to the painting hiding my safe. Need help? No. He stepped between me and the shredder. No thank you. Why don't you start packing the bedroom? Upstairs, I called Laura. The SEC is moving in, I told her. I need you to wire the money tomorrow. Already done, she said. Account's set up in your maiden name, just like you asked. Jesse's got the guest room ready whenever you need it. I sank onto the bed, suddenly overwhelmed. Laura, what if I'm wrong? What if... Stop right there, she cut in. Remember when Mama caught Daddy gambling away their savings? What did she do? Cleaned out the accounts and left him with nothing but his boots and his pride. And what happened after? He sobered up, earned back her trust, and never gambled again. I smiled at the memory. They were stronger for it. Exactly. Sometimes love means letting people hit rock bottom. A crash from downstairs interrupted us. I found Alex in the kitchen, a broken whiskey bottle at his feet. Everything okay? I asked, helping him clean up. Fine, he snapped. Just perfect. Why wouldn't it be perfect? I watched him sweep up glass, his expensive suit stained with liquor. Alex, if you need to talk. I said I'm fine. He threw the dustpan into the sink. Just leave me alone. That night, I lay awake listening to him pace the study. Papers rustling, drawers opening and closing, the shredder running continuously. At 3 a.m., my phone lit up with a text from Christine. SEC team arriving at the office tomorrow. It's happening. I slipped out of bed and went to the kitchen, making coffee like I had so many nights back home when storms were rolling in. The city sparkled beyond our windows, beautiful and cold. Alex appeared in the doorway looking haunted. You're up? Couldn't sleep. I poured him a cup. Want to talk about it? For a moment, I saw a flicker of the man I'd fallen in love with. Vulnerable, real. Then his walls slammed back up. Nothing to talk about, he said, but his hands shook as he took the cup. Just work stuff. Must be pretty serious work stuff to have you shredding files at midnight. His head snapped up. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I sipped my coffee. Just making conversation. He stared at me for a long moment. You know something. I know lots of things, Alex. Like how to balance a checkbook, how to keep promises, how to tell when someone's lying to my face. The color drained from his. Nat, get some sleep. I cut him off, setting down my cup. We have a lot of packing to do tomorrow. Back in bed, I watched the sunrise paint Manhattan gold. My phone buzzed one last time. Laura sending a photo of my old room back home, ready and waiting. Jesse says he'll drive up to help you move. She wrote, just say when. I typed back, tell him to be ready. The storm's about to break. Through the wall, I could hear Alex still pacing, still shredding, still trying to outrun his choices. In 6 days, he'd learn what every Texan knows. You can't outrun a tornado. You can only hope you've built your house strong enough to survive it. And I'd built mine out of steel and secrets, ready for whatever came next. The SEC hit Alex's office like a Texas tornado. I watched it unfold through Christine's updates while pretending to pack our bedroom. They're pulling everyone into conference rooms, she texted. Alex looks like he's seen a ghost. My phone rang. Laura. You watching the financial news? Your husband's firm is all over it. Not my husband for much longer, I said, folding another empty box. Jesse's still coming tomorrow. Already on his way. But Natasha, Daddy knows something's up. He's worried. I sat on the edge of our bed, soon to be just his bed. What did you tell him? That his little girl finally learned to stand up for herself. He smiled and said, about damn time. The front door slammed. Alex was home early, very early. Gotta go, I whispered, ending the call. I found him in the kitchen, pouring whiskey with shaking hands. His tie was loose, hair disheveled. Rough day? I asked innocently. He drained his glass. They're investigating everyone, freezing accounts. It's a witch hunt. Sounds serious. I leaned against the counter. Should we be worried about the house closing? The closing's fine, he snapped. Everything's fine, just keep packing. Alex, I said softly, if you need to tell me something. He stared at me for a long moment. What do you know? I know our savings disappeared. I know you've been lying about business meetings. I know— Stop. He gripped the counter. Just stop. You don't understand how things work here. This isn't your small-town Texas world where everything's simple. No, I agreed. Back home, we call stealing what it is. The whiskey glass shattered in his hand. Blood mixed with expensive liquor on our marble countertop. Careful, I said, reaching for a towel. Let me help. Don't touch me. He jerked away. You have no idea what I'm dealing with. Then tell me. Help me understand why our emergency fund had to fund your emergency. His laugh was hollow. You want to understand? Fine. I made some bad calls, borrowed against positions I shouldn't have, then tried to cover it up with other people's money. Happy now? Other people's money, I repeated. Like our savings? It was temporary. He paced the kitchen. I just needed time to turn it around. But now with the SEC. Now what? I pressed. What happens now, Alex? He stopped pacing, something dangerous flickering in his eyes. What did you tell them? Tell who? The SEC. He slammed his hand on the counter. Did you talk to them? Show them something? I stepped back, remembering Daddy's warnings about cornered animals. I haven't talked to anyone, but maybe you should. His phone buzzed, probably his lawyer. He answered without taking his eyes off me. What? No, I understand. Yes, I'll be right there. He ended the call looking suddenly deflated. I have to go. Alex? Don't wait up. After he left, I called Christine. How bad is it? Bad, she said. They're talking criminal charges, multiple counts of fraud. I closed my eyes, fighting unexpected tears. The closing's in 3 days. You sure you want to go through with this? Maybe he needs you now more than ever. He needs consequences more than he needs me. I wiped my eyes. Did you get the documents I sent? All copied and ready for the SEC. But Natasha, once I turn these in. I know, no going back. I spent the next hour on the phone with Laura, finalizing details. Jesse would arrive tomorrow with his truck, ready to help me disappear while Alex was dealing with his lawyers. The guest room's all ready, Laura said. Daddy even put fresh flowers in there. Tell him. My voice cracked. Tell him his little girl's coming home. That night, Alex didn't return. I packed my real belongings into boxes marked Goodwill, things he'd never think to check. The rest could burn with his house of cards. At midnight, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Mrs. Hicks, this is David from the SEC. We'd like to speak with you about your husband's activities. I showed Laura the text. Right on schedule, she said. You ready for tomorrow? Ready as a rattler in spring, I replied, using one of Daddy's sayings. I spent my last night in our bedroom looking at old photos, Alex and me in happier times, before greed poisoned everything. Part of me still loved the man in those pictures, the one who used to bring me wildflowers and dance with me in the kitchen. But that man was gone, replaced by someone who'd steal from his own wife and lie to her face. My phone buzzed one last time. Jesse. Just crossed into Pennsylvania. See you tomorrow, darling. I touched the screen, thinking about home, about second chances and fresh starts. Alex thought he was facing an SEC investigation. He had no idea he was about to face Texas justice instead. Sometimes karma needs a woman's touch. And mine was about to leave a mark he'd never forget. Jesse arrived at dawn in his battered pickup truck, looking exactly like the piece of home he was. Alex had spent the night at his lawyer's office, making my escape easier than expected. Well, don't you look like a woman on a mission? Jesse drawled, pulling me into a bear hug that smelled of leather and Texas sun. Keep your voice down, I whispered, though I was smiling. The doorman gossips. We worked quickly, loading the pre-packed boxes marked Goodwill into his truck. Each contained pieces of my real life. Photos, documents, family heirlooms I'd quietly collected over the past week. Last stop, I said, leading Jesse to the study. Help me with this painting. The hidden safe opened with a satisfying click. Inside lay everything I needed. Emergency cash, documents, and a manila envelope fat with evidence of Alex's creative accounting. Damn, Jesse whispered, watching me empty the safe. You really are your mama's daughter. My phone buzzed. Christine. SEC team asking questions about Alex's personal accounts. When should I give them the documents? After the closing, I typed back. Let him sign everything first. Jesse helped me replace the painting, slightly crooked, just as Alex always kept it. You sure about this, darling? No going back once we hit the road. I'm sure. I took one last look at the study. The front door opened. Alex's voice carried down the hall. Nat, why is there a truck outside? Jesse and I froze. This wasn't part of the plan. Quick, I whispered, shoving the safe's contents into Jesse's hands. Out the service entrance. I'll handle this. Jesse slipped out just as Alex appeared in the doorway, looking like he'd aged years overnight. "Who was that man?" he demanded. "Jesse, old family friend." I kept my voice casual. "Helping me sort donations before the move." Alex's eyes darted around the room, lingering on the painting. "At 7 in the morning?" "Early bird gets the worm," I said, channeling my mama's breezy tone. "How'd it go with the lawyers?" He loosened his tie, collapsing into his office chair. "They want me to take a deal. Turn evidence against the others." "Others?" "Don't." He held up his hand. "Just don't ask questions you don't want answers to." My phone buzzed again. The realtor. "Closing moved up to 2 p.m. today. Buyers insist." I showed Alex the message. "That's good, right? Faster we close, faster you get the cash." Something shifted in his expression. "What did you just say?" "The closing, it's... No." He stood slowly. "You said you get the cash, not we." My heart raced, but I kept my face neutral. Figure of speech. Like hell it was. He stepped closer. "What are you planning, Natasha?" "Nothing, The SEC questions. The quick sale. That man helping you this morning." His eyes widened. "You're leaving." "Alex, you're leaving and you're taking everything." He lunged for the painting. I backed away as he ripped it from the wall, revealing the safe. His hands shook as he tried the combination. "It won't open," I said quietly. "I changed it last month." He whirled on me. "Open it." "No. Open it." He slammed his hand against the wall. "Whatever you think you know, I know enough." I straightened my spine, channeling every strong woman in my family. "I know about the strip clubs, the gambling, the fraud. I know you stole our savings to cover your tracks. I know everything, Alex." His face went from red to white. "You turned me in." "No," I said. "You turned yourself in. I just made sure someone was watching." He reached for me, but I was already moving. Daddy didn't raise no fool. I knew better than to let a desperate man get too close. "The closing's at 2, I said, backing toward the door. "Sign the papers, take the money. Maybe it'll help with your legal fees." "You can't do this," he whispered. "You're my wife." "I was your wife. Now I'm just another investment gone bad." I made it to the elevator before the shaking started. Jesse was waiting in the garage, engine running. "You okay?" he asked as I climbed in. "Heard yellin'." "Just drive." My phone exploded with texts from Alex as we hit the highway. Threats, pleading, promises to change. I turned it off. "Your daddy's gonna be proud," Jesse said after a while. "Standing up for yourself like that." I watched Manhattan shrink in the side mirror, thinking of the SEC documents Christine would deliver tomorrow, the closing papers Alex would sign today, and the empty safe that would tell him exactly how long I'd been planning this. "I'm proud of myself," I said quietly. "That's enough." Jesse smiled, pointing the truck south toward home. "Sometimes the longest journey starts with one goodbye," I finished, completing one of Mama's favorite sayings. And as the city faded behind us, I felt lighter than I had in years. Alex wanted to play big city games? Fine. But he'd learn what every Texan knows. Sometimes the biggest losses come from underestimating a small-town girl. The news broke while Jesse and I were somewhere in Virginia. Christine's call interrupted Patsy Cline on the radio. "It's all over the financial networks," she said. "Alex signed the closing papers, then the SEC moved in. They're calling it one of the biggest fraud cases this year." I watched mountains roll by outside the truck window. Did he suspect anything? Not until it was too late. The look on his face when they served him the papers. She paused. "He's asking about you, demanding to know where you've gone." "Let him demand." I twisted my wedding ring off, dropping it into my purse. "How much did they find?" "Millions. And those documents you gave me? They're calling them the smoking gun." Jesse glanced over as I ended the call. "You okay, sugar?" Just tired. I leaned back against the seat. Ready to be home. My phone lit up with a text from Alex. You planned this. All of it. The sale, the SEC, everything. You ruined me. I typed back one message. You ruined yourself. I just made sure you couldn't ruin anyone else. Then I blocked his number. Laura called next. You're all over the local news back home. Texas lawyer helps expose Wall Street fraud. Daddy's strutting around town like a rooster in a henhouse. Is he... I swallowed hard. Is he disappointed in me? Girl, are you crazy? He's telling everyone how his daughter took down a criminal without firing a single shot. Says it's smarter than his way would have been. Jesse pulled into a roadside diner somewhere in Tennessee. Over coffee and pie that reminded me of Mama's, I checked my email. The closing proceeds had landed in my new account, my fair share, plus what Alex had stolen from our savings. Your mama would have done the same thing, Jesse said, watching me stare at the numbers. Remember when old Joe tried to cheat her on that horse deal? I smiled, remembering. She sold the horse to his competitor for half price just to spite him. Taught him a lesson about crossing Texas women. My phone buzzed. Christine again. Alex's lawyer called. He's offering a deal. Says he'll split everything 50-50 if you'll speak up for him at sentencing. I showed Jesse the message. He snorted. That boy still thinks he's holding cards. He never did understand Texas poker. I agreed, declining the offer with 2 words. Not interested. We drove through the night, watching the landscape change from mountains to plains. Every mile brought me closer to home, further from the glossy Manhattan life I'd thought I wanted. Laura met us at the state line, leading us home in her beat-up Jeep. As we pulled onto the familiar dirt road, I saw Daddy on the porch, looking exactly like the rock he'd always been. There's my girl, he said, pulling me into a hug that smelled of leather and tobacco. Heard you've been teaching city boys about justice. Learned from the best. I buried my face in his shirt, finally letting tears fall. None of that now, he said gruffly, but his eyes were wet too. Your mama would say tears are just rain for growing stronger. Inside, Laura had prepared a feast, all my favorites from childhood. As we sat around the kitchen table, my phone lit up one last time. A news alert about Alex's arrest. Federal agents took him into custody. I read aloud, then stopped. You don't have to follow it, Laura said softly. Yes, I do. I straightened my shoulders. Need to know it's really over. Daddy reached across the table, taking my hand. It's been over since the moment you decided to stand up for yourself. Everything else is just paperwork. That night, I sat on the porch swing, listening to crickets and watching stars you could never see in Manhattan. Jesse joined me, offering a glass of Daddy's bourbon. Remember when we were kids? He said. And you wanted to be a superhero? I sipped the bourbon, letting it warm my chest. Yeah? Way I see it, you kind of became one. Took down the bad guy, saved a bunch of folks from getting robbed, all without throwing a single punch. Some superhero. I laughed, hiding behind legal papers and real estate deals. Sometimes the biggest fights are won with the smallest weapons. He clinked his glass against mine. Your mama used to say that. My phone buzzed one final time. Christine sending a photo of Alex being let out of his office in handcuffs. I deleted it without responding. You know what the funny thing is? I said, watching a shooting star streak across the Texas sky. I thought I'd feel guilty or sad or something, but all I feel is free, Jesse finished. Yeah. I smiled, feeling the weight of Manhattan finally fall away. Free. Inside, I could hear Laura and Daddy talking in the kitchen, their voices mixing with memories of Mama's lessons about strength and justice. Alex had thought he was marrying a simple country girl he could mold into his perfect Manhattan wife. Instead, he'd married a Texas tornado in disguise. And like Daddy always said, you don't realize a storm's true power until you're standing in the aftermath. The morning sun painted the ranch kitchen gold as I sipped coffee with Laura, watching Daddy work with the horses through the window. My phone buzzed. Christine calling with the news I'd been waiting for. The judge just handed down the sentence, she said. 15 years, no chance of early release. Laura squeezed my hand as I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. There's more, Christine continued. He tried to claim you were involved, but those documents you saved? They proved you were actually the one who stopped him from stealing from other accounts. The judge called you a silent guardian of financial integrity. I couldn't help but laugh. Daddy will love that. His daughter, the guardian. How are you feeling? I watched Jesse ride up to the house, his smile visible even from a distance. I feel right, like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. After hanging up, I joined Jesse on the porch. He handed me a stack of mail, mostly letters from Alex's victims, thanking me for coming forward. Still getting fan mail? He teased. These aren't fans, I said, shuffling through the envelopes. These are people who trusted someone they shouldn't have. Just like I did. Difference is, you did something about it. Laura burst through the screen door, waving her tablet. You're trending again. Someone made a TikTok about your story. They're calling you the Wall Street whistleblower. Lord help me, I groaned, but I was smiling. Daddy joined us, wiping his hands on his jeans. Got a call from the FBI this morning. They want you to consult on similar cases. Said something about needing your unique perspective. I don't know. I started, but Laura cut me off. Girl, stop. You've got a gift for seeing through people's lies. Use it. Your mama would have said the same thing, Daddy added quietly. Jesse leaned against the porch railing. Speaking of gifts, when are you gonna let me take you to dinner? Properly this time, not just diner coffee and pie. Laura squealed while Daddy suddenly became very interested in his boots. Subtle as a bull in a china shop, I said, but my cheeks felt warm. Nothing subtle about knowing what you want, Jesse replied. Something I learned from watching you handle Alex. My phone buzzed again. A message from Alex's lawyer. Client requesting one final meeting. Says he needs closure. Delete it, Laura advised, reading over my shoulder. Instead, I typed. He had his chance at closure. Now he has 15 years to think about his choices. Goodbye. Jesse whistled low. Remind me never to cross you. Speaking of choices, Daddy interrupted. Pastor Bob asked if you'd speak at the church social, about standing up to corruption and such. I thought about all the small-town girls dreaming of big city lives, just like I had, about how easy it is to lose yourself in someone else's world. I'll do it, I said. But I'm not talking about corruption. I'm talking about remembering who you are, no matter where you end up. Laura hugged me fiercely. That's my sister, always teaching lessons. The afternoon sun turned the pastures golden as we sat on the porch, sharing stories and planning futures. Christine texted updates about Alex's former firm unraveling, but they felt distant now, like news from another world. Got something for you, Jesse said suddenly, pulling a small box from his pocket. My heart jumped until he opened it, revealing a delicate silver pendant. It's a compass, he explained, because you always find your true north, even when the storm's raging. I touched it gently, remembering Mama's words about jewelry, how the best pieces tell stories of their own. Help me put it on? As Jesse fastened the clasp, Laura pretended to gag while Daddy mysteriously needed to check on something in the barn. You know, Jesse said softly, some might say karma did all the work with Alex. I shook my head, touching the compass. Karma needs witnesses willing to speak up. Otherwise, it's just bad luck happening to bad people. And are you done being karma's witness? I looked out over the ranch at the life I'd run from and the truth I'd run back to. At Jesse's patient smile and Laura's knowing grin. At Daddy pretending not to watch from the barn. I'm done being anyone's anything, I said finally. Except maybe what? Maybe yours, if you're asking. His kiss tasted like sunshine and possibility, while Laura's whoop of joy echoed across the pasture. Later, watching the sunset paint Texas skies in colors no Manhattan artist could capture, I thought about choices and consequences, about karma and justice, about the strength it takes to walk away, and the courage it takes to come home. Alex had taught me that some people see love as a weapon. Jesse was teaching me it could be a compass instead, always pointing toward truth. And truth, as any Texas girl knows, is like a stubborn horse. It might buck you off a few times, but it'll always take you where you need to go.